Samsy. Story time with Trailbot. There's home base. Little big old Ronnie. Oh, okay. Journey to the center of the earth. Part 29 for us. And we's at a secret campground. And if y'all can figure it out, I mean, the name of it's right there. Ha 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 ha. Okay. If y'all can figure it out, go for it. Put it in the comments if you have problems and you need assistance. But I thought we'd just kind of leave it a mystery because it's kind of a really, really nice spot. And it's not all that busy. So, you know, there's plenty of places out there where YouTubers go and do their thing. So I think we'll just leave this one as just a little drive-through kind of thing, and we'll leave it at that. All right, now this story, Journey to the Center of the Earth. Okay, they were really, really getting into it. Now, if I take a look at the book here, oh boy, we're about maybe two-thirds, And the book, she's falling apart fast. And that is not a euphemism for me. Okay, so when we left this thing off, Harry was saying there's just no way could we find these bones here. These bones should not be here. That could only be in the sedimentary soil formed by the alluviums, and thus replace the hot and burning rocks of the primitive age. And okay, so the professor's like, okay, here we go again. First you said we couldn't go to this, now all of this, and let me just do this again. So he puts on his lecture tone, and we'll pick it up there. I have listened to you earnestly and with patience, Harry, and I have a simple and clear answer to your objections, and that is that this itself is a sedimentary soil. How can that be at such enormous depth from the surface of the earth? The fact can be explained both simply and geologically. At a certain period, the earth consisted only of an elastic crust, liable to alternative upward and downward movements in virtue of the law of attraction. It is very probable that many a landslip took place in those days, and that large portions of sedimentary soil were cast into huge and mighty chasms. Quite possibly. Oh, okay, yeah, let's take another look here. So we sat up there at the, I guess it's a it's a viewpoint up there. I was sitting there. No, okay, no. Yes, yes. All right. I was taking pictures up there, and you know, I take a while to take pictures, so I'm taking pictures away, and we're clicking away, and then all of a sudden we hear this flute music. And what? And you know, we're looking around, and somebody had scrambled part way down the hill, and they were playing a flute out into the canyon there to just to play the flute there out into the canyon. But we couldn't see anybody or anything, and when they came crawling out of there, it was like, oh, okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, good thing we didn't have any dirty jokes about flute players that we were practicing the whole time. All right. Oh boy, here we go. I lost my spot. Man, we just got started. How can this be? Okay, here. Can be explained both upwards, landslip, chasms, quite mighty chasms. All right. Quite possible, I dryly remarked. But uncle, if these antediluvian animals formerly lived in these subterraneous regions, what more likely that one of these huge monsters may at this moment be concealed behind one of yonder mighty rocks. As I spoke, I looked keenly around, examining with care every point on the horizon, but nothing alive appeared to exist on these deserted shores. I now felt rather fatigued, and told my uncle so. The walk and excitement were too much for me in my weak state. I therefore seated myself at the end of a promontory, at the foot of which the waves broke in incessant rolls. Incessant rolls. Yeah, I combine a lot of words. Yeah, we just cruising through. Now, when we rolled up in here with Ronnie, it was the fall time. The thing was just about ready to close. We had the last couple of weeks or so, and all the leaves were on. That opening picture there, all the leaves were on when, well, not all, but very, very a bunch of them were on, and it was all, they was turning all colors and stuff. And then when we left, there was, all of them were off of the trees. They were all in piles, and there was snow on the ground. It changes quick up there. And but boy, what a beautiful stay that was. There was nobody there but us, because so late in the season it gets cold. Nobody wants to deal with it. That's your prime opportunities to go. I guess they call them the shoulder seasons or something like that, where you know, a little too much of this and not enough of the other kind of thing. Okay, so here we go. He seated himself down at the foot of the waves broke incessant rolls. I looked around a bay formed by projections of vast granite rocks. At the extreme end was a little port protected by huge pyramids of stones. A bridge and 3 or 4 schooners. Oh no, a brig. And 3 or 4 schooners might have lain there with perfect ease. So natural did it seem that every minute my imagination induced me to expect a vessel coming out under all sail and making for the open sea. Under the influence of a warm southerly breeze. Okay, out into the open sea under the influence of a warm southerly breeze. Okay, yeah. I started looking at the road again, and I was snooping around for some boondocking spots, and there was a couple of spots, a couple of well-frequented spots that had quite a few people in them. So it was kind of a couple of little villages, if you will. And I expect that it's a, you're in the group or you're not kind of thing. So, it didn't make any sense with the campground right there. And that campground had nice solid ground. The sites were big, and there was nobody there. But just up the road at the free boondocking area, one of the closer ones, well, there was at least a half a dozen fifth wheels and stuff parked out into it's not quite a swamp, but boy, if it rained, you're sitting there for a while, and if it snows, you're sitting there until the ground freezes so you can get out of there. And you could see where it was just chewed up, where people had tried to get in and out of it when it was wet. And it's pretty soft up there in spots. This whole area here, I was really surprised at how much rock there isn't. But that's why with Ronnie, it was just, we'll just stay at the campground. Why would we mess around with these roads? And the Jeep, that's what that's for. Now, you RV manufacturer guys, you like those Sprinters so much. How about you give me one I can tow behind my RV so that I got a bathroom on my day vehicle? Whoa. Sell me 2 RVs? Come on now. Or how about the front one is your day vehicle, and that's your 22 to 25 footer that can actually tow a 25 foot 10,000-pound trailer. Whoa. 2 RVs again? You gonna sell me 2 RVs? Come on now. Don't be crazy. Hey, I got some more ideas. Hey, no, I won't. No, that's too much all at once. That's too much all at once. Okay. We're not even going to get through this chapter. We barely had like a page and a half to go, and I've lost my spot, so that's just going to take some time. I therefore seated myself. I looked around the bay, rocks, schooners. Oh, right. Oh, right. I got all asunder there with the southerly breeze. But the fantastic illusion never lasted more than a minute. We were the only living creatures in this subterranean world. During certain periods, there was an utter cessation of wind, when a silence deeper, more terrible than the silence of the desert fell upon these solitary and arid rocks, and seemed to hang like a leaden weight upon the waters of this singular ocean. I sought, amid the awful stillness, to penetrate through the distant fog, to tear down the veil which concealed the mysterious distance. What unspoken words were murmured by my trembling lips? What questions did I wish to ask and did not? Where did this sea end? To what did it lead? Should we ever be able to examine its distant shores? You betcha, Harry. You're gonna. All right, let's take a look at this drive. Holy moly, holy guacamole. There it is. I promised that I wasn't going to do that other one anymore, so holy guacamole. Let's get that one rolling. All right. Distant shores. But my uncle had no doubts about the matter. He was convinced that our enterprise would, in the end, be successful. For my part, I was in a state of painful indecision. I desired to embark on the journey and to succeed, and still I feared the result. Yeah, so I'm cruising up here, and this is kind of a small road. I mean, if you start thinking about it's not bad until you meet somebody else, right? But there's a couple of pretty good sized ranches up here, so that's why this road is as good as it is. And when anybody says, oh, you can't take an RV this way or that way or anything, you know, one of the ways you can determine whether you can or not is if you see people living on that road. Because generally, if a school bus has to go there to pick up kids, well, school bus and an RV are, you know, basically the same thing in terms of being able to get down the road. The thing that gets in the way of RVs is the 101.5 inches wide and 13.5 inches tall. So, you know, they get part of the way there with a couple of other, you know, the Barbie cars there, the little Sprinter Class C's are, you know, they're more narrow and they're lower, but they can't. It's just not a good chassis. It's just too overloaded. It's a great chassis for the van. It could use more fuel. Even in the van, guys, it could still use more fuel. 24 gallons is not enough for a Class 3 vehicle. All right, enough of that. I just go up into the forest here, and then I'm searching around for day spots kind of thing. Set up the hammocks and just kind of do that kind of thing. And I find a bunch, of course, and I take a bunch of pictures. And of course, then, you know, you come rolling up here with the side-by-sides, and, you know, you can go a lot further. The Jeep will go a long ways for sure. And but when I'm by myself, I tend to be more conservative. Don't really feel like activating that Delorme thing. All right, let me see if we can get through this chapter, Distant Shores. But my uncle said had no doubts. And, and I still feared the result. I see the end of it coming here, and I know the end of the drive is coming, because we pull up on this meadow thing, and oh my word! And you can see people were camping there. Here, let me finish up this paragraph, this chapter, before I get too crazy here. Okay, feared and still feared the result. After we had passed an hour or more in silent contemplation of the wondrous spectacle, we rose and went down toward the bank on our way to the grotto, which I was not sorry to gain. After a slight repast, I sought refuge in slumber, and at length, after many and tedious struggles, sleep came over my weary eyes. All right, that's the end of the chapter right there. That's the end of chapter 27. Now we's on to chapter 28. Oh, they're going to hit the seas, launching the raft. All right, let's take a look at this thing. Oh yeah, we got a ways to go yet. We're not going too far. You can see the mountains up there. We're climbing up, and yeah, there's not a lot of growth. I don't know if there was a fire or what it was, but it's definitely too soft to be spending too much time over there. Anyway, yeah, we come up on a spot up here where you can see people have been camping, and it kind of overlooks this little meadow with a little lakey swamp thing in there, and I am sure there's going to be wildlife like you wouldn't believe in there. And this road, you can see this road is plenty good enough. It's if you were in if it just wasn't 40 feet long, and is wide. But anyway, even if it were, no problem. I've scouted it out. I could take Ronnie up here. But how would I get from this nicely packed gravel road that a school bus can travel on to right in there, and the Jeep, well, no problem, right? We can just whip right in here. I think it's just right up here where I can dip in and find the campground. But there's just no way to do it with Ronnie, and you don't need one of those full-on military expedition vehicles to do just this, to just go right into there. You just need a little clearance and some common sense. All right, let's get on. Let's just wet our whistle just a little bit at the beginning of this next chapter here, chapter 28, launching the raft. Well, on the morning of the next day, to my great surprise, I awoke completely restored. I thought a bath would be delightful after my long illness and sufferings. So, soon after rising, I went and plunged into the waters of this new Mediterranean. The bath was cool, fresh, and invigorating. I came back to breakfast with an excellent appetite. Hans, our worthy guide, thoroughly understood how to cook such eatables as we were able to provide. He had both fire and water at discretion, so that he was enabled slightly to vary the weary monotony I always want to say monotony of our ordinary repas. Our morning meal was like a capital English breakfast, with coffee by way of a wind-up, and never had this delicious beverage been so welcome and refreshing. My uncle had sufficient regard for my state of health not to interrupt me in the enjoyment of my meal, but he was evidently delighted when I had finished. "Now then," said he, "come with me. It is the height of the tide, and I am anxious to study its curious phenomena." "What?" I cried, rising in astonishment. "Did you say the tide, Uncle?" There. So now we just dipped off into here, and even if I were able to, and the popping and snapping and of the twisting box there didn't bother me, and we did it anyway. And we didn't sink today, because you can see there's still some snow out there, so it's probably a little softer than it might be in the summer. But if it rains, oof, boy, you can see the ruts in there, and they were made by pickup trucks. They were not made by 45,000-pound RVs. So if it were to weigh less, but still have big floaty tires, a whole bunch of them even. But yeah, it just, and you can have a locker. You can even, some of those medium duties you can get in a four-wheel drive, but it's such a clumsy thing. And that's going to do is just get you stuck deeper. If you got 25, 26,000 pounds and you get that stuck, four-wheel drive, it's just going to get you more stuck. No. You can get a winch maybe, and you can help other people. But you really shouldn't have too much trouble as long as you keep your wits about you and that kind of thing. And then, like I say, if you have a winch, at least you could figure something out. There's a lot of other heavy vehicles out there that may not be able to pull you out, but they may be able to park there while you did it. All right, so we're pretty much at the end of this thing. We didn't get too far, but I better mark it down where we're at. Oh, we'll probably just end up starting all over here anyway. So, all right. So, thank you so much for coming along, and we'll catch up with you next time. Oh, too soon? Thank you so much for coming along, and we'll see you next time. Oh, there's what I'm looking for. There's a nice little spot in the trees that I took, and there's a nice, oh my word. Yep. All right. Chill out. Let Rosie go. Go, you big old Rosie. Do your thing now. Ah.